Hello, and welcome to a brief overview video of how to log on and get started using Dedoose to create a project where you can code as a group all of your interview transcripts. Once you've downloaded Dedoose to your computer, simply double click it to open the Dedoose program, enter your username and your password to log in. Once you've logged in, you probably won't see as much stuff as this if it's your first time coming on, but what you'll need to do is either create a project or join a project if you're a recipient of an invitation. So one person from each group should go ahead and create the project for the group. To do that, on the top row, go to the very last entry called projects, and let me just move myself here. Click on create project on the bottom, and you will be able to create a project for this course. So I'm gonna call mine, just for as an example, I'm gonna use self-efficacy in math, and as a description, I'm gonna put calculus 2 research study summer session 2021. This is just an example data set that I'm going to use to illustrate how to set it up and begin the coding process. So for you, you would do something like title, EDD evaluation study group 4, and then description, inquiry to research study, something like that. So click submit, and then your project will be added. The main screen here defaults to the project you just add. So you'll see here on the top left, it says project self-efficacy in math. If you're creating the project, it should say EDD evaluation study. So if you want to just double check that, that would be a good thing. If not, you could always go back to the projects icon and then click on that and then click on the EDD evaluation study project. What you want to do is get all of your group mates onto the same project. So to do that, go to security, which is a couple icons to the left of projects, and you will be able to add groups or users. So I think the best bet in this case is to add individual users. So you'll click add user and then use selected group after you click it. Use selected group and then type in your group mate's email addresses. So you'll type the first one in, click submit, type the second group member in, click submit, etc. They will get an email invitation with the link. So once they click the link, they will be automatically added to your group so that they can join the coding process and have access to the same data set. So that's adding a group member. Once you have done all that, you should be ready to go. So you can go, load up your project and then begin the interview transcript uploading process. To do that, the second box here says media. You will click on the top right where it says add or import data, and you will import as many interview transcripts as you have in order to complete the project. So I'm just going to upload one just to illustrate the process for you. If you need to upload more, you just keep going and they'll all upload for you. And you'll see pretty quickly that it pops up shortly thereafter. You can view it if you want to. I'm going to choose not to right now. But once you're there, you can double click. And this is the main screen that we're going to work off of. This is where the codes get developed and the actual coding takes place. So you'll see here you have the interview transcript, and then the codes part is over here. So for the codes, this is the result of you're looking at all the transcripts and identifying some themes that you might have seen emerge among the responses. So for this particular study I'm showing you, we interviewed students in a Calculus 2 course, and we asked them about their self-efficacy in mathematics, particularly in the course. So how they felt about learning, their ability to be successful in the class and believe in themselves and persevere in a difficult class. So once we conducted those interviews, we took all of them in our data set and we started, looking at crosswords and coming up with codes. And one of the codes we found was in-class activities. We did this on a Google Sheet. I don't know what you guys did in your groups, but one particular code we found was in-class activities. So if I want to go ahead and add that as a code for my project, on the bottom right, where the codes are, just click on the plus, which is add root code, and then as the title, I'm going to type in class activities. For a description, you can make it very clear what that would consist of. So in this particular course, a description might say something like anything completed in class, such as group problems, quizzes. We also did something called a workshop problems, etc. Just so that it's clear what that code actually means when it's applied. And then if you want to do custom colors, you can get fancy if you want, and then click submit. And that code will now be available to you as you're going through the transcript if you want to go ahead and tag a particular part as being an example of an in-class activity. So another example of a code we found, confidence came up a lot. We saw things like being decently good at math, liking math, being good with numbers, achievement, things like that. So we created this code called confidence, and we can do the same thing on Dedoose. We can click on add root code and then type in confidence. And for a description, we can say something like how a person feels about their ability to complete math tasks successfully. And this would be a description that you come up with your group mates. You can just put that in there. Now, you can also add what are called child codes under each code. So if you want to get more specific, you can then click add child code, and a child code inherits all the properties of parent code, but it's more specific. So for an in-class activity, if you do something like assessments, that would be a particular type of in-class activity, but maybe it has a grade attached to it, or it's a short thing that the teacher uses to get a handle on how the class is doing. So that could be a type of in-class activity that becomes a child code. So for description, I'll just keep it simple. It's an in-class graded activity. And you would, try to be as specific as you can. And you'll notice that it comes up in blue and it comes under in-class activities slightly indented to show that it's a child code that, it's also an in-class activity, but it's a special type of in-class activity. All right, so then once you have that ready, you just go to your transcript and you start, looking for examples of the codes that you have. So you just start to read, and on the first page, I'm just looking at some of these things. Maybe we can code something like in-class activities. So I'll go to the second page. Looking for something really quick to code. Go to the third page. All right, I'll just go with confidence. So I guess this didn't have a lot of talk about in-class activities, so I will go to confidence. So I see this line here about I guess just like honestly getting the validation from getting a good score makes me feel more confident. So I might want to tag this whole excerpt here as an example of confidence. So to do that, you just click on the confidence code, double click, and it will tag that part for you as an example of confidence. It's that easy. And then you'll see selection info over on the top right, and that's there for you, throughout the whole time. So you just keep repeating this process. You list all of your codes. You should have more than this. This is just a very preliminary idea of how to add a parent code and child code. And then when you find something that should be coded, you just highlight it as you would anything else, and then double click whichever code it is, whether it's parent or child. The last thing I want to talk about for this getting started video is memoing. So we talked about interview reflexive memos, you wrote one for the class, but there's also this idea of memoing while you code. And frequently those are called analytical memos. These are brief notes about thoughts, ideas, and questions that come to the researcher during the coding process. And pretty often, qualitative researchers use these analytical memos to note their reflections and code them for additional data for their research. So if at any time you feel like you want to document something, maybe you're conflicted about applying a code, or you want to provide a reason for why you coded something the way you did, you can simply um, click on memos up here on the top and hit create new, and then you can start to memo right here. So you just put a title and then start typing your memo away. We coded this excerpt using confidence because, dot, dot, dot. This is just an example. Maybe you're going to leave a memo for someone in your group for them to take a look and see what they think about a particular code. It's really up to you. But that's there for you to use as often as you want. And it comes up as a sticky note on your board. So that'll just be right there for your whole group to see. And, that's a nice feature that exists. There's also linked memos, so you can actually link the memo to a specific excerpt if you want. So if it was this particular excerpt that I wanted, I can click link existing memo, and then I can get I can apply the memo to that particular excerpt so that it's tagged right there, and I don't have to go to a separate screen to create it. So it kind of like lives with it. So that's an option that you have there too. All right. So I think that's pretty much it for getting started. This is a very basic overview of how to just load your stuff, create a project, add people, and then start the coding process. It's pretty intuitive, but you just want to make sure you have your codes agreed upon. And then if things do pop up as you're coding, document those memos. And then as a team, you can discuss further any changes that need to be made. Have a great rest of the day.